guys, if you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. Hey guys, I'm back and it's Friday, November 16th and it's 8:11 p.m. Eastern Time if you're on medication, and maybe you should be. Well, I don't know where you are in the United States, and you may not even be in the United States, but if you are and you're on the upper East Coast, you're probably snowed in. Now, we did get a lot of snow, but I'm not snowed in, but I was out earlier playing in the snow. Okay, well, I wasn't really playing in the snow. Yes, I was. Yes, I was. Stop judging me. Anyway, and I do apologize for this angle of the webcam. I was having difficulty with it tonight for some reason, and I just got crusty and said, oh, forget it. So this is the view of me that you get tonight. Anyway, let's get into Q-related news. I did just check to make sure that Q had not posted, and he has not. So we are going to get into Q-related news, and dang it, we're going to enjoy it. So let's get started. Now, before I do get started, I do want to show you something. I had mentioned that I was going to start because I am a trained graphic artist as well, and I did that for many, many years. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to try my hand at some Q t-shirts. So I did, and they are available. Now, I've only got one design yet because it takes time, but I'm going to be working on more designs as time goes on. But here is the first one. If I can get out there, I want to show you guys what I'm working on. And I'm not sure if I can hit on that or not. Here we are. There we are. There is my first design. It's a big Q with an American flag, and Q, it just says QAnon. So I am going to be designing. You can get that in all sizes. You can get it in a little hoodie, all sorts of stuff, and a little tote, stickers, whatever. So I am going to be doing more. I'm going to try to do maybe one design every other day for the next little while to get it built up. But there you go. Now, people were asking, and ask and you shall receive. So I'll put the link to these down in the description box for you. And let's get on to what we're really here for, which is Q-related news. Now, there's a lot of it, and I don't know if I'll get to all of it in this video. Probably not, because I need to cut this a little shorter than I usually do. But I can come back and do another one, or we'll see how it goes. We'll see how much I get through here. Trump administration green lights $324 million border wall in Arizona. Now, I don't know about you guys. I think I'm pretty safe in assuming that you all want the wall, that you're all for the wall. I certainly am. And so this is good news. And the Arizona border will have 32 miles of existing wall replaced starting next April. And as far as I'm concerned, it can't come soon enough. The $324 million project has been given the green light by federal immigration officials, U.S. Customs and Border Protection announced Thursday. So it's going to switch out the old barrier that runs from the Border Patrol's Tucson sector west into the Yuma sector, which is just miles from Arizona's border with California. The replacement wall is meant to keep pedestrians and vehicles from entering the U.S. Older barriers were largely to prevent cars from driving over, but were only a few feet tall and did little to keep people from trespassing from Mexico. So I'm not going to read all that. I think it's enough for us to know that they are doing something about it, and it will be started next April. Again, not soon enough as far as I'm concerned, but at least it's being done. And I think that they will probably save that much, at least, by going ahead and doing the wall. I think the wall's going to pay for itself, if you know what I mean. So let's go back and see what other news that we can get. Hang on here. Let me get here. And I don't know if you've heard this, but Stacey Abrams has finally admitted defeat, but not very graciously. I was going to go to this article, but I think this little clip says all you need to know. So let's go out here to Twitter and listen to her. Well, I know, I'm sorry to have to do this to you, but what can I do? In typical Democrat fashion, Stacey Abrams can't lose gracefully and stated the election was illegitimate. Let's be clear, this is not a speech of concession. Hey, Stacey, let's be clear. You lost because you're a socialist. The end. Well, I like that. Now, let's go back here and...
I acknowledge that former Secretary of State Brian Kemp will be certified as the victor in the 2018 gubernatorial election. But to watch an elected official who claims to represent the people in this state baldly pin his hopes for election on the suppression of the people's democratic right to vote has been truly appalling. So let's be clear. This is not a speech of concession. Because concession means to acknowledge an action is right, true, or proper. As a woman of conscience and faith, I cannot concede that.
Yeah, so there you go. Always a gracious loser, isn't she? Well, no, actually, she isn't. And so you can see the hatred and the seething there. Very upset that she got caught. Well, maybe not her personally, but those that wanted her to win certainly were caught. And yeah, I'm liking this a lot. So let's go back and see what other trouble we can get into, because I'm sure there's quite a bit. And I like this from our president, Donald J. Trump. People are not being told that the Republican Party is on track to pick up 2 seats in the U.S. Senate, an epic victory, 53 to 47. So there is our answer to the very last Q post, because he posted 53-47Q. My question is, how did Q all those months ago, because this is the second time. Remember when Kavanaugh was going through whatever he was going through, the questioning and all that, Q at that time posted the exact same thing, 53-47. So how did Q know way back then, when all the Kavanaugh kerfluffle was going on, that this would turn out the way it did? It puzzles me to tell you the truth. But here we are. We have the answer that we've been seeking, 53-47. And again, it's another Q proof, right? Because Q posted that a couple days ago. When was the last time Q posted? I'm going to check here. Well, let's see. It was November 13th, and this is the 16th, so 3 days ago. And let me see when Trump posted this was today. So 3 days ago, Q says 53-47, and today, 3 days later, Trump says 53-47. Now, I would say that is proof of Q. Another proof of Q. There are multiple. So people are not being told that the Republican Party is on track to pick up 2 seats in the U.S. Senate, an epic victory, 53-47. The fake news media only wants to speak of the House, where the midterm results were better than other sitting presidents. Well, yeah, you're never going to hear that from the mainstream news. We're never going to hear anything positive from the mainstream news. And to tell you the truth, if you want to make yourself very sick to your stomach, and I would not recommend doing it either before or right after eating, but go to President Trump's Twitter page and look at all the comments that he has. It literally will make you sick to your stomach, and you'll wonder, because sometimes when I hear these Democrats or far left-leaning people, I think, is there anyone that actually really thinks like that? Because it's hard for me to fathom, because we like to think that everybody's like us. And that's why when somebody ends up being a serial killer, their next door neighbor goes, "What? But they were so normal. I had barbecue over there. Our kids played together. He was a normal, regular guy." And the reason that is because we tend to see in others what we are ourselves. So it's hard sometimes when you look at people, like the Ocasio girl, I can never remember her name. But anyway, people like that spouting off, and you think, do people really think like that? Well, once you go to Donald Trump's Twitter page, that'll answer the question. And it might actually frighten you at the sheer numbers of people that think that way, because they're literally just mouthing what the mainstream media is saying right back to Trump. There's no processing it. There's nothing. It's just parroting it right back. So that's a little scary because these people vote. It's very scary. And I've said this before, and yes, I'm joking, but boy, it would be nice if voting required an IQ test. Now, I'm not saying that just because somebody has a lower IQ that they're not capable of making good decisions. That's not what I'm saying at all. But, and maybe it isn't even an issue of IQ. Maybe some of these people are very bright. They're just, I don't know. Anyway, let's go on. I can't figure out life in its totality in one short video. So, and neither can you. So anyway, let's go on to this person I follow on Twitter, where we go one, we go all. And I thought this was very interesting. Direct energy weapons used by the cabal. They aren't hiding it. No, they're not. And yes, they are using direct energy weapons. And I don't care what anybody says to the contrary. It's very evident. And just ask the people that are being burned out of their homes and the people in those areas, and they will tell you the same thing. There's something not right about these fires. They're not average organic fires at all. So interesting. He is pointing out this: 66 dead, 600 missing. 66 dead, 600 missing. Now, not only is that an astronomically large number and probably very conservative, probably a very conservative number, but see the occult numbers: 666 equals mark of beast, synagogue of Satan. The cabal is sending a blatant message. They will continue to kill us in retaliation to avoid being prosecuted for their crimes. Expect it to get much, much worse. We are at war. Stay vigilant. And I can't stress that enough, because it's very evident that there is a war going on. It may not be a traditional type war, but it's war nonetheless. And people are dying. People are dying. So my prayers really go out to the people in California. I can't say that enough. I know that, I believe in prayer. I do. I'm a believer, and I do believe that prayer works. So I do believe that our prayers are heard. It seems like I wish I could do something hands-on, but that's not an option for me right now. Anyway. Now let's look at this. One of the most, and this is from Dan Bogino, I think that's how you pronounce his name. One of the most disgraceful episodes you'll ever see up on the Hill. Kamala Harris has embarrassed herself, the Senate, and the country with these outrageous assertions. And Democrat Senator Kamala Harris compares ICE to the KKK. Yeah. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. She compares ICE to the KKK. Unbelievable. And appears to suggest that they are a terrorist group during a Senate hearing to consider nomination of Ronald Vitello to be the director of ICE. So she uses that opportunity to get her 2 cents in, and she calls them a terrorist group and compares them to the KKK. You can't make stuff like this up. I wish you could. I wish this stuff was just made up. It would be fun. We'd all have a laugh and we'd move on. But it's not the case. Now, I know everybody's upset about the whole Jim Acosta thing, because I know if you are anything like me, you say, yay, he deserved that. And he did. He is so disrespectful to the office of the president. Okay, so he doesn't like Donald Trump. All right. You know what? I didn't like Barack Obama, but I still respect the office, and I respected the office while he was in it. And I would have shown him respect, the respect due to him, even though I don't agree with him on just about anything. But these people are so immature. They can't even afford this man the respect that's due to him as a duly elected president. That's sad. That's really sad. But I know we're all upset because I'm sure you've heard that a judge has now ordered the White House to allow Jim Acosta back in, which it has done. Now, I haven't heard anything later than that, but I do know that he was allowed back into the White House. So, this is interesting though, because I don't think people have seen this. And it is the actual lawsuit. And it's Robert Sherrill versus H. Stuart Knight, Director, United States Secret Service, et al., appellants. And, in this case, the judge determines that due process must be followed to revoke the press passes of bona fide reporters. He goes on to state that it must simply be in writing and administrative procedure followed. Okay, this is actually maybe the precedent law case. I'm not sure now, to tell you the truth, because it doesn't sound like it was the actual the actual case. But apparently, in this case, judge determined due process must be followed to revoke press passes of bona fide reporters. He goes on to state that it must simply be in writing and administrative procedure followed, which wasn't followed in the case of Jim Acosta. The journalist must also be a bona fide journalist, which means asking questions, not getting into philosophical debates with the White House. This will easily be overruled in a higher court. Now, this is a quote from the court case. In our view, the procedural requirements of notice of the factual basis for denial, an opportunity for the applicant to respond to these, and a final written statement of the reasons for denial are compelled by the foregoing determination that the interest of a bona fide Washington correspondent in obtaining a White House press pass is protected by the First Amendment. So really, this lawyer is literally saying, well, the proper procedure was not followed. So it's not that, they're making it seem like, Trump can't do this, he can't do this, and now a judge has forced him to take Acosta back. Well, that's not really what the lawsuit says. It's not. It's that the proper procedure wasn't followed. Trump has every right to do that. Every right. And you know what? I bet you he will in the future again. I don't think he'll have any problem kicking him out. I don't see him having any problem with that whatsoever. So there you go. Now, literally all the judge is saying is that the White House must put it in writing and give the reporter an opportunity to respond before pulling the press pass. It still allows the White House the final decision. The court is just saying that a certain procedure must be followed. Bet you didn't hear that in the news, did you? No, I bet you didn't. This is a really simple fix. All the White House needs to do is put the reasons for revocation in writing. Let Acosta respond in writing and then make its final ruling. All final powers are still within the disposition of the White House. They simply need to follow the due process, mock administrative procedure to complete the task. This isn't a win for CNN. This is a joke, as is everything with CNN. And let me say this. I did say this on my Twitter. And by the way, if you want to follow me on Twitter, I am Mishel, Mishel, D, capital D, Bytes. And you will find me there. Please feel free to follow me. I don't do a lot of tweeting, but I do a lot of retweeting. So, but I tweeted, actually, it was maybe even this morning, that, you know what, if we stop watching CNN And now I've already stopped watching CNN. I stopped watching a long time ago. But if we stop watching them, then, I mean, we are legitimizing them by watching. You know, once everybody turns them off, it's like there won't be any financial reward in it, and they'll stop spewing all this crap. They need to realize that they work for us. They work for us. We pay, you know, cable bills and so forth to have that channel there. So, you know, they're working for us, really, and we are the ones that are paying their salaries. So, I mean, if we weren't watching, they wouldn't be able to get advertising, right? And they wouldn't be able to sponsor these shows through advertising and so forth if nobody watches. So it's a very simple solution. We all need to just stop watching. We know we're not getting the news. We know that it's everything that they say is slanted and in some cases completely made up. So there you go. Now, and I like this response from Where We Go One, We Go All. You cannot be effing serious. How in the world is this even possible? White House press credentials are a privilege, not a right. Can a lawyer or judge please explain this in greater detail? I am at a loss for words. Well, I just did explain it in greater detail. So, you know, at least you guys will know that, yeah, I understand when it's all broken down. It's easy to understand how this happened because the judge was not saying that Trump did anything wrong. It's just that he didn't follow the process. The White House didn't follow the due process to have a press pass revoked. So you can bet that if Jim Acosta's up to his old tricks, bye-bye, he's going to get kicked out. And believe me, they'll follow the proper procedure this time, and there's no judge that will overturn it. So there you go. All right. Now, this is exactly what you want to hear. This is exactly what you want to hear. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. It's not. And maybe I won't be able to get out there because maybe. Okay, here we go. Let's hold hands and skip there. Here we are. You're not going to want to know this. You're not. A mini ice age could be on the way, and it's going to get very, very cold. Well, that's what we want to hear, isn't it? What happened to global warming? Humanity is facing a long, cold winter, which could see temperatures across the planet plunge to depressing lows. I'm already depressed. Dang it. I want sunshine and roses. That's the warning from a NASA scientist who fears sunspot activity on the surface of our star has dropped so low that it could herald the arrival of a uniquely grim mini ice age. That doesn't sound fun. That doesn't sound fun at all. Usually when something's mini, it's fun. You know, just think of it. Usually if something has the term mini tacked onto it, it's fun. But not a mini ice age. Not it. No, I don't want a mini ice age nor a full-grown one. So we see a cooling trend. Martin, who has a last name that nobody can pronounce, of NASA's Langley Research Center told Space Weather. High above Earth's surface, near the edge of space, our atmosphere is losing heat energy. I don't want to hear that. Do you? No. I enjoyed living on the south. This is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen, and I didn't see that earlier. A man almost had his balls blown off when an e-cigarette exploded in his pocket. I'm sorry, that is not funny. It's not funny at all. It really isn't. I don't know why I'm laughing. I really don't. Okay, I guess because it was just the sheer surprise of it all. Anyway, if current trends I've got myself all like discombobulated now. If current trends continue, it could soon set a space age record for cold. Sunspot activity follows a cycle which is believed to last 11 years as a number of patches, peaks, and drops. There have been very few spots in the sun for most of this year, meaning that it could be about to get very cold very quickly. It could happen in a matter of months. Now, when was this written? I'm afraid to find out. It was written today. So, matter of months. I guess I need to start saving so I can move back to somewhere warm, because I do not like cold weather. I'm a bad Canadian, and I consider myself American, but I was born in Canada and spent most of my adult life in the States, but I'm a bad Canadian because I can't stand the cold. Anyway, so there you go. You got two stories in one there, about an e-cigarette exploding and about a mini ice age coming. And mini, just so you'll know for the future, does not mean fun. All right, let's go back and see what other trouble we can get into. Now, I'm not going to go out to this, but I do want you to know that Lindsey Graham is to take over as chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Now, whether this is good or bad, I don't know. I think it's a good thing. It seems that he's very pro-Trump these days, so I think that it's a good thing. But at any rate, that's what's happened, and he is to take over as chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. So, now you know. And, okay, that's about the CNN case. I don't think we need to go into any more of that. I think that we have, kind of killed it, really. We've, all right, and this. I may have read this to you already, and if I did, I apologize in advance. The Parkland shooting killer registered to vote in prison and voted in the recent Florida election. His vote counts. The 17 killed didn't get to vote. They never will. Let that sink in, Florida. That is very good, and it's a very good thought. It's an enraging thought. It really is. I'm not quite sure how they can get away with that. I didn't think that, people in prison had the right to vote. But I guess I would be wrong. Or maybe I'm right. I don't know. You guys could let me know in the comments below. I'm not sure. I would assume that it is not legal for a person in prison to vote. But correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway. Now, what else can we get into here? Now, this is interesting, and I meant to do this the last time, and I forgot it. So, but I do want to mention it because we do have a few Canadians as well that listen, mostly American, but we've got people from all over the world that listen to this. When I look at the breakdown of where everybody's coming from, it's quite amazing, actually. We've got people from New Zealand, Australia, UK, all over. One from Japan. We've got Canadians, Americans. Those are the main countries. Anyway, warning to U.S. on terrorist threat from Canada. Now, if you are American and you tend to think that we Canadians are friendly people and mean you no harm, well, you'd be wrong. Now, most Canadians mean you no harm, absolutely. But Trudeau is letting in former ISIS fighters, because they need to be rehabilitated and, they trust them. He says, oh, Canada, we have confidence in them. Well, now we've got all sorts of things happening here in Canada that have never happened before, as you would imagine. So, yes, there is a huge threat from Canada, and I don't think people really realize it because I don't think they understand how bad it's really gotten here. Now, where I am, I'm kind of in a reprieve here. Because I'm kind of not in a real hugely populated area. But I'm about 2 hours from Toronto, about 2 hours from Ottawa. So, and those are areas, those are hotspots. So anyway, let's get into this. Security experts here warn that by welcoming radical Islamists, and they definitely are welcoming them, open arms, paying for everything, Canada now presents a danger to the United States, and it does. It really, truly does. The U.S. and Canada share the longest undefended border in the world. There hasn't been a reason to defend it because there hasn't been a serious threat from either country in a couple hundred years. There is now. Canada is today the happy home of thousands of radical Islamists, ex-ISIS fighters, and the Muslim Brotherhood. Their numbers continue to grow, with Islamists infiltrating the Canadian government on several levels. Yes, this is true. Many Americans assume that all is peaceful and well with their northern neighbor, but security experts here warn that by welcoming radical Islamists, Canada now presents a danger to the United States. Canada as an aircraft carrier for Muslim terrorists to attack America. Terrorism expert David Harris, who works for Canada's spy agency, the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, told us a major attack on the United States by Muslim extremists based in Canada is only a matter of time. Many years ago, I suggested that many of the Islamist extremists might regard Canada as an aircraft carrier from which to maintain operations against the United States, Harris said. Thomas Quiggin, the author of Submission, The Danger of Political Islam to Canada, with a warning to America, believes Canada is becoming a foundational sort of place for Islamists and all stripes, including the Iranians, by the way. Quiggin says Canada is in denial over the terror threat it has created for itself and its neighbor to the south, and the denier-in-chief seems to be Prime Minister Trudeau. Well, he's the one that's inviting them all in and paying for everything, by the way. Oh, yes, there's a bunch of them holed up in Toronto in hotel suites that we, the taxpayers, are paying for. Yes, I pay taxes in both countries. So yeah, that enrages me. It enrages me because they have a facility for them, which is kind of like a same sort of facilities that they have in the States to keep them there until they're vetted, properly vetted, and so forth. Well, we have that in Canada, and it's all set up. But no, we brought them in. We pay everything. And these hotels that they're staying in are not even livable anymore. So they're destroying, well, why shouldn't they? It's all for free. Why would they have any respect for somebody else's property? Everything's being paid for, everything. While our vets and our homeless, there are seniors here, and I know this for a fact, that have to decide whether they're going to eat or whether they're going to heat their homes, because it's called hydro here. We don't call it power because it's hydroelectric power that we have. And it's so expensive. It is so expensive. I moved from a house because it was costing me almost $1,000 just to heat it, which was more than I was paying for anything else. So, unbelievable. Yes, there are seniors here that are literally having to decide, do I eat or do I pay for hydro? And yet, Canada pays the way for all the former ISIS fighters. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people upset here, but we have no recourse. There's no recourse. You can't even, if somebody commits a crime and they're Muslim, they're not allowed to say that in the news at all. So, yeah. Anyway, let's go on. Kumbaya. Prime Minister Trudeau actually said in our parliament that if you are opposed to ISIS fighters returning to Canada, it is because you're Islamophobic. Quiggin said, in other words, it's not them that's the issue. It's your opposing their return that makes you Islamophobic. It makes you a racist. Yes, well, as a Christian woman and knowing that these ISIS fighters slaughtered Christians by the thousands, I have a problem with them being here or in the United States or anywhere near me. Just saying. I'm just saying. If that makes me racist, oh well. You know what? Oh well. We're going to be called racist no matter what we do. I've just come to that conclusion. It doesn't matter what you do, you're still racist, according to some people. Anyway, Toronto Sun columnist and XM Sirius Canada host Anthony Furey told us, I think that there's the idea that we need to welcome everyone because everyone's wonderful. So kumbaya, this notion that ISIS fighters are somehow deserving of that kind of respect and cultural accommodation just as much as anyone else is nonsense. And it is. And it's not surprising because Trudeau shares beliefs with Islamists. Trudeau has sent official greetings to Canada's annual Reviving the Islamic Spirit Convention and personally attended as a member of Parliament in 2012, even after news reports the event was linked to a group that had funded Hamas. Yes, this is the same prime minister who gave millions of taxpayer dollars to the Clinton Foundation. Yes, he did. Trudeau told the gathering in his 2015 video greeting, this is also about celebrating our shared beliefs of fairness, equality, opportunity, and acceptance. Oh, are you kidding me? Quiggin asked the prime minister, do you know who you're talking to? And why would you say that you share their values when their values are anti-democratic, anti-women's right, pro-slavery, pro-stoning of women? I mean, the stuff that's on some of their websites here in Canada is startling. There have been lone wolf attacks on the U.S. from Canadian Muslim terrorists since the Quebec-based Millennial bomber tried to cross the border to blow up LAX in 1999. But the Islamic threat in Canada has been played down, and it has. The Danforth attack, claim of a cover-up. July's attack on the Danforth in Toronto, where 2 women were killed and 13 injured, has been spun by the police and media as a mental health issue on the part of the gunman. Fury accused police of a cover-up, and there was one. There has been a total cone of silence around the Danforth shooting story, Fury said. I wrote a feature where I found out that family statement, which said the suspect, Faisal Hussein, had mental illness, had actually been put together by a spin doctor, a self-described spin doctor, who's associated with the NDP, which is one of our, that's the New Democratic Party, Canada's left-wing party, and also a Muslim community activist. Much of Canada's mainstream media seems to stand with the Islamist. The Toronto Star announced it was no longer using the name the Islamic State because something so barbaric could not be Islamic. Well, does that make sense to you? That is the worst flawed logic I have ever heard. Parliament passed the notorious M103 anti-Islamophobia motion last year. Critics call it an attempt by the government to silence any criticism of Islamists in Canada. So there you go. I'm not going to finish it there, but I do want you to be aware that it's not just your southern border that is an issue anymore. It's the northern border. And I'm telling you, if Canada does not do something about allowing all of these former ISIS fighters into Canada and welcoming them with open arms and forbidding anybody to say anything about it, then you're going to need another wall on the northern border. So I don't know. It's not good news. I hope that when Trump finishes straightening out America, that he'll come on up here and straighten us out. That's what I'm hoping. But by that time, I will be back down there, and I will be very glad to be back down there. So there you go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop it here because it is getting on in time, and I do have an errand that I have to run in like 10 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and run that errand, and I may come back with more news because there's a lot of it. So anyway, but let's call it a night for that anyway, and we will stop there. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. It's Friday night and you should be enjoying yourself, and hopefully you have the weekend to relax. Stay well, stay safe, and stay blessed. Good night.